Okay, everybody, so I got a little bit different of a video today. This is going to be a complete setup video. So this is a 9-gallon Fluval Flex. See, it's Fluval. So the actual Fluval, it comes with a lid that has a little light underneath. The light is controllable, it has different colors. If you just plan on having fish, that's all you need, is you can just put this lid on here and use the light that comes with it. But for me, obviously, I'm going to have some coral in here. Actually, it's really just going to be bubble tip anemones. That's the main purpose of this tank, is a bubble tip anemone with a couple regular clownfish. I'm setting this up for my daughter, so this will be her tank. I am going to try something different that I haven't done before, and that is a bare bottom tank. So I'm going to put no sand down here. I plan on putting some GSP down here, and hopefully it'll grow. Hopefully the light will be strong enough to grow the GSP on the bottom of the tank. Right now I have a Higer light on here. This is literally just for the video. I have a night crew light coming in, so the night crew will be much stronger than this one, so it should be able to keep a bubble tip anemone alive. Another upgrade I did to this Fluval Flex is down there. The pump is actually a Sice, SICCE. I'll have it linked down in the description, but it's a 1.0 and it fits perfect in here. I don't think I could get a bigger pump in here. It's much stronger than the pump that comes with the Fluval Flex, so it'll be more inclusive for a reef tank. It'll put off a lot more flow. The Fluval Flex does come with those nozzles, which is great. So I'll play around with the flow, but I think I'm gonna have one pointed. Try to get a better camera shot. I think I'm gonna have one pointed up against the glass so it bounces off and kind of comes across the rock structure, and then this one's shooting into the corner, kind of make a vortex. That's the goal anyways. We'll see how it'll work. Right now I'm mixing up some salt water, so then I'll put the salt water in there. And then to cycle the tank, I'm going to be putting some of my live rock and filter media from my other tank in these back chambers here, and hopefully that'll cycle the tank instantly. This is just kind of a concept idea. We'll see if it works. If not, we'll go to plan B. I really am no time crunch for this tank. It's just something fun for me to do. I had this extra tank laying around, so we're going to get started on it. Stay tuned. All right, everybody. So it has been 1 week since I shot that previous video. So here's how the tank is looking. As you can see, I've added a bunch of corals. I got a couple bubble tips. I got an awesome little Nemo clownfish in there. I got the light in. Got my salt water all mixed up, obviously. And yeah, the budget build's going great. So this is a budget build option. That's the whole goal behind this tank, is for it to be a budget build. Somebody that's just getting into the hobby, this is something they could get. Or like in my instance, I'm just making this for my daughter for her room. Something cheap and easy for her. So first off, the tank, it's a Fluval Flex 9-gallon. And also all of the equipment that I use will be linked down in the description below, so you can just find everything that I use down there. And most of it was bought off Amazon, so just look for that down below in the description. So anyways, this is a Fluval Flex 9-gallon. It is a freshwater tank, but it can be used for saltwater. You know, it doesn't have to be one of those expensive saltwater tanks. It's got, you know, a little bit thinner of glass, but it does the job. So far I like it. I had it set up as a freshwater before, but converted it over to a saltwater. Anyways, it has two features that I really like about it. First off, I really like the return pump where the intake is. So you got one down below to pull detritus from the bottom, and then you got one up top that acts kind of as a skimming motion, so you get all that skimmate off the top of your tank. Not like a skimmer, but it helps just kind of pull all that crap off the top. Then it also comes with this cool nozzle. So it does come with the split nozzle where you can point the nozzle any direction. So I like to have one pointed down just to push all the detritus this way into the return, and then I like to have one pointed up in the opposite direction, and this one is to break the surface tension of the water. So you'll see on some people's tank, they get this like scum and film over the top of their tank. Well, that's because they don't have any surface tension, or they're not having anything break the surface tension of the water, which isn't good. That means you're not getting a lot of oxygen into your tank, and then also it just looks bad because you got that scum on the top of your tank. So it's an easy way to get rid of that problem, is just have some flow on the top of your tank. Moving on to the light. So I am using the Nano, what is it called? The Hyper Reef 30. So Nano Hyper Reef 30, here it is. Made by Nano, bought on Amazon. It's a cheap light. It's a 30-watt light. Seems to be doing the job. Everything is healthy. Everything looks good every day. Everything blows up, looks great. Right now the bubble tip's pretty sunken in. It actually gets about twice that size, if not 3 times that size. But this is after hours. The lights were off for a few hours, and then I turned them back on about 30 minutes ago just to shoot this video, because that's when my wife and daughter go to sleep, so I can actually make the video. Moving on to the wave maker. I am using a cheap Sun wave maker. So you can get 2 of these for 14 bucks. So 2 for $15 off Amazon. Not a bad deal. This is a budget build, so I went with the cheapest wave maker really on the market with good reviews. So I made sure it did have decent reviews. So far so good. It's perfect size for this tank. It is just a suction cup wave maker. So it's nothing fancy, nothing special, but it does get the job done. If you are looking for something a little more robust, something that will last a little longer, I would recommend the size pump. So this is one I just had laying around, but unfortunately this is like a 50-gallon version of it. They make all different sizes of it, but if you're looking for something that's going to last you a long time, that's not super expensive, these are awesome little wave makers. So if I had a mini version of it, I would definitely be using this one instead of the Sun. But unfortunately I don't, and I wasn't going to spend the money for a size pump, even though they're really not that expensive. I just wanted to make this a complete budget build tank. And then also in the previous video, I did say I was using the size 1.0 pump, but I also had this mini jet, mighty jet laying around that I forgot about, and I went with this one instead. So I love these pumps. It's what I'm running on my 60-gallon, just the bigger version of it. I really love it for one feature. It has the feed mode. So you just double click that, and then it turns off your pumps. That way when you feed your fish, all the food doesn't get sucked up into the return. So it's a great little pump. Again, I had it laying around, or else I wouldn't have bought it, but well, I might have bought it, honestly. That little feed mode makes it well worth it. So if you are looking for an upgrade, go with this. So the Fluval does come with its own pump. It's just a standard cheap pump. My whole goal at the beginning of this was to run the tank without a wave maker, was just to run it with a return pump. So that's the whole reason why I even want to upgrade the return pump. You could just run the Fluval that it comes with and the $14 wave maker, and if you're running softies, I think that'll be enough flow for your tank. But you don't have that feed mode feature, so you would have to either buy a switch on Amazon to turn on and off the pump, or unplug it every time, or I don't know how other people do it. I don't feed my fish with just the food getting sucked back up into the return, so I have to have something to turn off the pump during feeding. So that's why I went with the mini jet. But like I said, you can unplug it, or you could buy one of those little switches on Amazon. You just plug the pump into it, and you can turn it on and off. I'll have one linked down below so you guys can see what it looks like. Just click on it, and then maybe you can use it for a tank that you already have right now if you have that issue. Moving on to the rock structure. So this is just Marco rock. This is, again, more stuff I had laying around, so I had some rock left from my previous build. But you can buy this at any reef store. You can buy it online. I'm pretty sure they have it on Amazon also. This is usually the cheapest option of rock available. It's just the white Marco rock. So it's flat rock on bottom. Got another piece right here, and then this is 2 pieces glued together, and I just use Gorilla Glue, the gel form. It has to be the gel form to glue everything together. So this is one piece now. It moves all together, and it is held together with a bottle of Gorilla Glue gel. I also use that to glue down all my frag plugs and just the frags themselves. So that's just a straight Zoa with a glob of Gorilla Glue on the bottom, and as you can see, it's doing just fine. So that's what I use, is the Gorilla Glue. I think it's the best on the market for corals. It has to be the gel form though. It can't be the runny kind, because it just won't set up. So make sure it is the gel kind. Moving on to the back chamber. So this is an all-in-one tank, meaning that the filter is in the back. You don't have to buy a hang on the back filter or a canister filter or anything like that if you're familiar with the freshwater. All-in-ones aren't really that popular in freshwater for some reason. Everybody goes with like a hang on the back or like a canister filter. But in the reef world, all-in-one is the way to go, in my opinion. Just makes life easier. So in the back, I'm just running some, let me grab it, filter floss that you can get on Amazon, cheap stuff. I buy it. I go through a bunch of this stuff. It's awesome. It helps pull out all of the detritus and junk out of the water column. So I just have that in the first chamber, and then underneath it, I have a bag of Sea-Chem Matrix. Sea-Chem Matrix is basically just like a porous rock that beneficial bacteria can grow in. Also a great place for little copepods to live and breed in. So I highly recommend Sea-Chem Matrix, but it's just like any other biomedia out there. I just think it's a little bit better, in my opinion. It's just what I use. So you can use whatever you want. There are cheaper options out there. I just like the Sea-Chem Matrix. So I have that in the first chamber. This second chamber here, I have just a sponge in there, and then underneath it I have a couple pieces of rock, just for, again, beneficial bacteria purposes. And then in this last chamber, this is where the return pump is. That mini jet, mighty jet, is in there. And then I also have another piece of rock from my 60 gallon back here, because it has beneficial bacteria. And then I have a bag of Sea-Chem Matrix right there. That was also in my 60 gallon tank to bring more beneficial bacteria into this tank. And then the heater I'm using, I don't even know the name of it. It's just a 10 gallon heater that I had laying around. So I actually had about 3 different heaters, and this is the one I went with. I like it best. I have a Fluval heater, a more expensive heater. I have another, forget the brand of it, but it's another more expensive heater. But I just really like this one. It's cheap. Forgetting the name of it right now, but I'll have it linked down below. So check it out. It's an awesome little heater. So I decided to go with that over the more expensive option. Moving on to how I cycled this tank so quickly. So a lot of people are probably looking at this video being like, how does he have so many corals in here? Why does he have so many corals? Why does he have a fish in here? And it's only been a week. Well, I can tell you, I added the GSP day 1. I added the Zoas day 1, the polyps day 2, and the bubble tips day 2. So all these corals were added on the first 2 days. And there's about 3 reasons why I could do it this way. So first being is I have plenty of beneficial bacteria in my back chamber already. So I had these bags of Sea-Chem Matrix setting in my other tank for the past 2 years. So there's a bag here, there's a bag there, and then there's rock and more rock from my from other tanks. So it had plenty of beneficial bacteria in there already, had copepods, had feather duster, worms, all that kind of stuff all over it. So it had everything you need for your tank to be up and running. So yeah, everything, it was already had tons of beneficial bacteria. And then the second part would be I use Fritz Turbo Start. This again adds a bunch of beneficial bacteria on it. So this is something that you can order online, but it does need to be refrigerated right away. So either use it right away or put it in your fridge as soon as you get it. And it's stable for a while, but I like this type because you do have to refrigerate it, so you do know that the bacteria is alive and I've used this for all my tanks, and I have nothing but great things to say about this tank. Even whenever I've cycled tanks without putting beneficial bacteria from another tank into the tank, and I just used this, I did add corals day one, and I still have that coral to this day. Still have those corals to this day. For instance, the Duncan coral, you can see it in my 60-gallon. That was the first coral I ever got, and it is still alive, and I added it the first day I got my tank. So I don't really subscribe to the whole idea that you need to wait to add coral. I think you can add coral day one, which brings me to my third reason of how I have all this coral in here, is because the coral provide a function to the tank while it's cycling. So you do have ammonia getting raised in the tank from just either if you had a fish, from the poop, from the waste, all that. It's going to cause an ammonia spike, and then those nitrates turn into nitrites or whatever. It goes through the nitrogen cycle. You can look up the nitrogen cycle. But the coral actually use the nitrates to grow. So you have this spike in nutrients in your tank. Well, guess what? This fast growing coral, it sucks it up. So I think adding coral actually helps your tank cycle more quickly. It helps soak up all those extra nitrates and nitrites and all that. But there is a caveat. I would say you do need fast growing corals. So make sure that you're getting, hardy corals. The best example would be GSP, green star polyp, this stuff at the bottom. This stuff will survive a apocalypse. This stuff can pretty much grow as long as you got your salinity right, your temperature within range. Everything else can be kind of crappy and it'll still grow. So I love this stuff. It grows quickly, and it's perfect for a new tank. Another good options are zoas. Those can be a little more finicky, but I've always had luck with putting them in new tanks. Mushrooms are another good. That might be a little bit slower starting to grow from the start, but eventually they'll catch back up and they'll start taking off. But they are another good coral to add in a fresh tank. Polyps are always a good one. They're constantly filtering the water and they're growing very quickly. And then toadstool, another good, any leather corals are pretty good to add right away. Now, I would not recommend adding bubble tips right away to a brand new tank. I have the luxury of having another tank that's been up and running for a while that I can put these bubble tips in if anything bad happens. But with having all of these steps done, it looks like I have enough beneficial bacteria for the for it to be cycled. I test the water, everything looks good. Ammonia is good, nitrates, nitrites are all good. Calcium, alk, everything is in perfect order, right in range where it needs to be. So it looks like the bubble tips are going to be here to stay, and they're going to do just fine in this tank. Another thing, each little piece of coral brings more beneficial bacteria to your tank. So not only do they soak up all the nitrates from your tank, not all of them, but they soak up some of the nitrates, they also bring in their own beneficial bacteria. So on each piece is just more, it's like adding little pieces of live rock to your tank. So every frag plug is like adding another little piece of live rock to your tank. Now you do got to be a little cautious when adding frags to your tank. You got to make sure that there's no pest on the frag plugs, because aptasia, that's usually where you'll find it, is on the frag plugs, or bubble algae, hair algae, that's usually always on the frag and not on the coral itself. So that's why a lot of people don't like adding the plugs to the tank. I like adding the plugs to the tank because it does bring that beneficial bacteria to your tank, especially in a new tank. So that's just another reason why I was able to add corals right away, is because I did add plenty of them at once. I know that's going to be a little controversial. People probably shouldn't tell people to add a bunch of coral at once. But I do, again, have the luxury of moving corals to another tank if something doesn't work out. But I had pretty much complete faith that it was going to work out. That's what I've done in the past. So it's what works for me. I don't think you need to wait months and months and months just to add a fish and some coral to your tank. Go ahead and add it. And you got things like Fritz Turbo Start to help you cycle the tank. And then you can also get something called Seachem Prime. It's kind of a little hack for cycling a tank. I can make a video on it. But if your ammonia starts to spike or your nitrates or nutrients get out of control, you can add a cap full of the Seachem Prime and it'll stabilize your water until you're able to do a water change. Pretty much a water change will fix any water quality issues that you have. So the best thing to do is a water change, but if you can't do a water change, you can add a cap full of the Seachem Prime. And it's got me out of some sticky situations, especially in the beginning of reefing. So it's a cool little hack. I'm sure somebody's made a video of it on YouTube, so you can just look up Seachem Prime for reef tanks, but I always have a bottle of it laying around. Now, the only thing that I might add to this tank is an auto top off. Right now, I just use some RO water in a gallon jug that I have sitting by here, and I just fill it up every day, every other day. You know, the water line will be up here and it'll drop to about there in a day. So it's got a little bit of evaporation, but you just pour the RO water in the top. Eventually I'll probably just get the same auto top off I have in my 60 gallon, which is a pretty cheap auto top off. I forget the name of it. It'll be linked down below, but I've had it running since I had my first little 10-gallon tank, and it's been doing phenomenal. So it's an awesome little auto top off. You don't need to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars for just an auto top off. I mean, it's pretty elementary design, you know. It's just a pump that gets turned on and off, so there's no need to spend a ton of money on that. Granted, there are some pretty cool safety features with some of the auto top offs, but the one I use on my 60 gallon seems to be working just fine. I never had any issues with it, and it's probably the one I will use for this one as well. A few other products that I do use for the tank, if you're just curious on things that you might need, always have a pair of these little tweezers. These are for grabbing frag plugs and moving stuff around. I use these almost every day instead of sticking my hand in the tank. Always have some Gorilla Glue on hand. Fritz Turbo Start for starting up your aquarium. Always good to have something to scrub the glass with. I use this one by Seachem. It's an awesome little tank. It's got little razor blades that you switch out, so it's a cool little scraper. Other than that, that's really all you need for this tank. Again, this is just a budget build, so it's a cheaper all-in-one tank. It's a cheaper light. You can use the pump that just comes with the Fluval, or you can upgrade the pump. You can get the cheap wave maker, and then you're really set. You're really good to go. You just need some rock. You don't even have to buy sand. You know, this is a bare bottom tank. You can buy sand if you want. Sand definitely adds beneficial bacteria to your tank if you get the live sand, but it's not necessary if you have enough rock. Now that's the key. You have to have enough rock. You need a lot of surface area for the bacteria to grow on. So if you go bottomless, I would make sure that you do have a lot of rock in your tank and a lot of filter media in the back to make up for not having that surface area through the sand. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. One other thing I wanted to mention, I really like using are these Casa lights. So this light does have an on and off feature, but these Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, I think they're Wi-Fi actually, Casa light switches are awesome. You just can turn it on and off from your phone. You can set up schedules from your phone. If you're away from your house, you can turn it on with a click of a button through your phone. So those are awesome to have. But yeah, any other questions, please let me know. If you want me to go into an in-depth step-by-step process on how to set up a 10-gallon tank, I can do that. Like a step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, I can make a video like that. But I just wanted to show you guys kind of how I did it and show you how everything's going. So yeah, this is my budget build, 10-gallon, really 9-gallon tank. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching.